Today's episode of Desertwood Days with Kathy Blaze is sponsored by Dork Publishing, expanding minds through fantasy since 2018. Learn more at the Dork Publishing website, www.dorcpublishing.com.
I wanna visit all the places nobody goes. I wanna teach all the things that nobody knows. I wanna grow wings, leave the coop, learn to fly. Bungee jump from the tallest building in Dubai. I wanna fly around town in my UFO. I wanna eat real food, not the GMOs. I wanna make moves, call the shots like the boss. I wanna love like I never lost.
Welcome back to Desertwood Days, and I am so excited for our next guest. She has left so many marks here in our Arizona community in the fashion industry, and I know you're going to love her as well. Let's welcome Miss Joanna Deshay.
Hello. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Good to see you. My goodness. We got fashion royalty here.
I don't know about that, but
yes,
trying.
That's all we can do is try,
That's right. That's right.
So, Joanna, you were the founder of Black Russian Label.
Yep.
Wonderful,
Yes.
Wonderful. I remember the first time I heard that name, and so I'm like, that is just such a bad name. I love that. Wow. Now, but before we get to what you do in the community, I want to know a little bit about Joanna.
Sure.
First off, my mom's name is Joanna.
Oh, there you go. So I love it already.
Joanna, you're from Ghana, right?
I am.
Okay, tell us, how did you get here? How did you get here to Arizona?
You know, it's so funny. I always ask my mom that question. God rest her soul. She passed a few years ago. But I said, you looked at the entire U.S. map and you went, oh yeah, Arizona's where we're going to go. I was born in Accra, which is in Ghana, also West Africa. And then we moved to Liberia, which is Monrovia, Liberia, so also West Africa. And lived there for the first 12 years of my life. Now, the strange thing about living in West Africa is my mom is Russian.
Oh.
And my father is Nigerian.
Oh.
That's why the label is called Black Russian. Like, what else was I going to call it? Right? That was kind of it. And when we lived in West Africa, my parents only had one language in common. Guess what that was? Russian. So I grew up until the age of about 6, speaking Russian.
Wow.
In West Africa. It was very strange.
Wow.
It was very strange because people kept saying, no, whose kids are these?
Right.
You know, and why are they speaking? You know, so that was my upbringing. So I think I've just always had this very global lens about just life. And I think that seeps into my design work and into my fashion. Because it's who I am. It just, you know, and I just grew up that way. But we moved here to the U.S. in the 80s. And the rest, I guess, as they say, is history. And this has been home. So this is only the U.S. city I've only lived in. So.
That is
yeah.
You know what? I say the same thing to my mom. My mom is from Memphis.
Yes.
And I said, what brought you guys to Arizona?
Did you know somebody?
Out of all places.
Right.
Yes, but who knows what was going on.
Arizona is so fantastic. It's a great place to call home.
It is.
And I think you can do anything. What you're doing, what I'm doing, anywhere that you are. That's true. Why I'm like, and people always go, I can't believe you do fashion in Arizona. Why not? That's exactly what I say. Why not? So,
right.
Yeah.
Well, you know what? Because Arizona has gotten this bad reputation over the years. And, and people have, you know what? People always think we live in a desert.
Right.
Okay. No, I don't live out in the desert.
And that there are horses around.
But my house is in between two mountains in the desert.
Right.
It's like, how do you deal with the heat? Well, I have air in my house. I go to my car, I have air. It was like,
we're not hanging out outside.
Like it's the mindsets of people.
Right.
But when they come here, they love it.
Yeah.
I don't think I've ever met anyone that moved here or came here to visit and didn't love it.
Right. Very true.
So that is awesome.
Very true.
Well, we're happy to have you here in Arizona.
Thank you.
So as this young lady growing up, was there someone that inspired you in fashion?
You know, it really was my mom. I have to tell you, she had this very eclectic combination of style. That was her very European upbringing because she grew up in Russia, overlaid with this very textural African, because Africa had adopted her. You know what I mean? I mean, you can't be blonde hair, blue-eyed in West Africa with 3 black daughters and not figure it out.
Right.
My mom became the braiding queen. My
Oh,
mom, listen. She was like, I want them to understand that I value this other side of their culture.
Right.
So really, I was inspired by her, just watching. She had such a way of dressing that was very intentional. And she wanted, it was never overdone. It was never done to impress. It was always done to honor your body.
Right.
You know what I mean? And also have a statement. So
I
that's
love
just
that.
watching her dress. It was very cathartic to just watch her dress.
Yes.
And I think I pull a lot of my sense of style from that.
You know what I think too? Comes from their generation also. Is
Yes.
that they have respect for it. I mean,
Yes.
being a lady and being a respectful lady and knowing how to dress
Yes.
and how to represent and show our children.
Yes.
How-
Even when we came here from West Africa, getting ready to travel, even when I travel now, I'm so like, my nerves are rattled when people are in pajamas and, just saying, like, it was such an art form. Even when we traveled, our hair was done. We had matching outfits, matched our luggage. There was just and then she was always about how you presented yourself.
And that's what it's about.
Exactly, because it said so much about your family and your family name.
Right.
So my mom was like, don't you get on here.
Can you imagine you being the founder and owner of Black Russian
and showing
label,
up.
and you're on the airport in head, shower cap,
No, ma'am.
pajamas,
No, ma'am.
but you're sitting there trying to give out your business card, talking about your brand.
So this is what I always say to my students, right? Don't ever forget that you are your brand.
Right.
I am Black Russian.
Right.
When people see me, right, and what does your brand exude?
Right.
What's the brand messaging? When you show up, do they believe it?
Of course.
When you say, I am, a brand that's all about cultivating style and curating, collections, and they look at you like...
But you don't represent
Exactly.
Well,
Exactly.
I love that you're speaking on this, because you know what? There's people out there that's going to be watching that may want to be in this industry or do what you do. But you know what? I also do image consulting. And I've heard people say, well, you know what? They're going to have to accept me the way I am. No, they don't. No matter whether it's in filmmaking,
I agree.
or acting, modeling,
I agree.
being a carpenter, whatever it is.
I agree.
People are going to look at you and think about, do I really want to hire this person?
And they do it in seconds. I know that sounds like terrible, but that's how the human mind works. It makes an assessment within seconds of meeting you, whether or not you are trustworthy, whether or not you can get the job done, and whether or not you actually look the part. You know what I mean? A lot of it is, so I love that you do image consulting. There's so many people that are like, well, they're just going to have to get to know me, and you won't even get that far.
You don't get that far.
You will not get that far. And so it's I always say to my students, it's like clothing. It's a form of nonverbal communication. When you get dressed, the question you ask yourself is, what am I saying today? What am I saying to everyone else today?
For example, I have a girlfriend that she strives to be the first one to send out the Christmas cards.
Oh.
And she's done that for years.
I have one of those too. And I'm like, girl, it's November.
Years. She's done it for years. I'm dying to tell her that someone else sent it out before her this time. No, but
don't burst her bubble.
I know. But that's how we know that represents who she is.
Yes.
The person she is.
Yes.
And that's no different than what our attire, our wardrobe,
so true.
our hair, our makeup, our shoes, everything that we do.
Yeah.
And that's why people like you, our teachers, our consultants, our advisors, or whatever your title is, that's there to show them how to do that.
Absolutely. And I have a brand that really wants to honor you at the place that you're at. I get so many women that are like, well, girl, I'm going to buy that dress when I lose 20 pounds.
Yeah.
When I get, I just need to. And I'm like, see, you got to dress the body you have now. And if and so it changes, dress that body.
Right.
And so on and so forth. You know what I mean? But it's about really honoring. Don't focus on trends. Don't focus on, well, she's wearing that. That looks so good on her.
Don't focus on what Kathy or Joanna.
Right.
I mean, because our style is going to be totally different than yours.
Totally agree. But and for my big thing is with fashion, and I think we missed the mark on this. We missed the idea that if it doesn't fit well, I don't care how much it costs. I don't care how trendy it is. I don't care who the brand is. If it does not fit your body well, it will not look good.
Right.
And you can tell me all day long, this is fill in the blank. But and I'll say, but it doesn't look good.
It doesn't look good on you.
You know? And so you really have to pay attention to like, what parts of my body do I love? What parts of my body do I want to maybe mask a little bit? You know what I mean? But what do I want to accentuate?
Speaking of that, and a lot of times, even though it's such and such a brand and they know it don't fit well, they're still not confident in it because it doesn't look right on there and they don't feel right, but they think only because this is this brand that it's going to look good on me and it's going to make me feel confident, but it doesn't.
And you've seen those women, they walk in the room, they tugging, moving, you know, pushing, and I'm like, oh, you're doing the absolute most right now. So,
well, we're going to talk more with Miss Joanna right after this commercial break. Welcome back to Desert With Days, and I am here with the talented Joanna Deshay.
Thank you, thank you.
So, Joanna, Black Russian label.
Yes.
We know where the name came from.
Yes.
What was it that made you decide to create this brand?
You know, this brand was created from, like I think most brands, a very personal place. You know, I had loved fashion my whole life. Loved it. And then I had my first child. And my body changed.
Yeah.
You know, so with my love, I still went, you know, and it just was like, oh, wait a minute, these things that fit, they're not fitting anymore. And I remember going into a major department store that I had gone to for years and years and years, and 38 pairs of jeans later, I was in there boohooing like a baby, with the baby.
Wow.
and I said, there's got to be a different way. There's got to be a different way. And this is what I think struck me, is the salesperson saying to me, well, maybe you need to go to a plus size store. And I said, oh, maybe y'all need to create better clothing for different silhouettes. That, you know, and it was like,
that's rude.
It really didn't go well for her. Let me just tell you that part. But I said to myself, I'm not going to wait for somebody else to do it. I'm going to see, because I know I'm not an anomaly. I'm not a person that is looking for something that just fits this hourglass figure, right? Smaller waist, you know, rounder backside, fuller hips. And I just saw that all around me, you know, and I thought, okay, if I'm not going to complain about it, what I'm going to do is see if I can curate a brand that honors that body type. And I set out on a mission to really look at the sizing chart, how clothing fit, you know, why clothing fit the certain way, vanity sizing, all the things that make up, you know, all of these brands, and come up with something. So all of the brands that I was seeing, it was either 0s, 2s, and 4s, and they would skip this whole range that I think most women fit in, and then they go to plus size starting at 18, 20, 22, and I'm like, well, what about the middle? You know, who dresses her?
Right.
And I made a conscious decision that I was going to dress her. So that was really the genesis of how the brand started. And it was, like I said, it's all about fit, it's all about function, and it's all about dressing the body well. So I really
and those are the key components, because as you know, when you have someone trying to create something for us, and I said us full figure women, that really they're just throwing something together just to say I sell this. Either it's not fitting in certain areas for people that has a wide back or are heavy in the chest area or whatever, bigger in the rounder. They're not putting in the love and the care for that.
Right. I wanted to empower her. You know, I wanted her to put on my clothes, and I think that's probably the most powerful thing that happened to me. The first time I actually showed people my collection, I had to try it on, see what you think. You know, I had a couple of customers come out in tears, and I thought, oh God, this is bad. This is like, you never want anyone to come out of the dressing room crying. I thought, oh my gosh, I haven't done it. And I remember this woman saying to me, they fit. So what? They fit? They fit? They fit. I put them on, they fit. How did you do that? How do they fit? And I started laughing. I said, whew, I thought your tears were going to be bad. But they were tears of joy because they usually don't fit. She's like, I have a bigger thigh, smaller waist, and usually pants, I just don't do pants.
And if they fit, they're not stylish.
Right. That's the other problem, right? Because they've got elastic in the waist, they've done all of these things that take out the trendy element of it. And I'm like, women that are fuller figure, people that have a curvier body frame, want to be stylish and they want to show off that hourglass.
They want to show it off.
I don't know who told designers that we should just mask it, right? Just hide it in a big sheet with massive prints on it, and have them hide away. And that's not true.
And I think that's been because of the years of disrespect of the fuller body, the curvy body.
Correct.
Well, I know you brought some media today. I'd like for us to take a look at that.
Wonderful. You gotta have a little bit of fun. It was a long day.
That is awesome. You were having so much fun.
Listen, you know what? I have fun at what I do. And I would say this is hard work.
Yeah.
Because I'm passionate about it. You know what I mean? I'm really passionate about, getting clothes that make women feel celebrated, feel seen. Yes. And that clip that you saw there was from the African Festival. Wow. And it was all about honoring designers and artists and creators from all across the diaspora.
So you're walking in your truth.
Absolutely.
I mean, you know what? You're a curvy girl and you design clothes that look good and feel good on you, which is going to spread out to all the other women that are out there. They're seeing how beautiful Joanna looks. I want some of that
I want to look that good. And that's the whole thing, is that there's a place for us. Right. And I think that this is our time where we just need to say to the fashion industry, represent. That's why I have my Representation Matters shirt on. Yes. It's all about having a seat at the table. And I started this whole social activation campaign called Dear Fashion. It's a love letter to fashion. To say it's time. It's time to include
And you know what? Not just fashion. It is time for fashion, film, all these different industries that think that because a person is a certain size, that they can't be the love interest or they can't be this or that because of their size. So it is time for people to quit looking at someone's shape or worrying about what size pants they wear.
And we represent the average woman. That's the other thing, that the models that you see, the double zeros and stuff, there's a place for them. I don't want to shame any size from any range, but that's not the average, especially American woman. Right. That's not the average American woman.
And especially, this is one thing that always got to me. And again, like we said, that we're not shaming any size because all size matters.
Yes.
Is that you're a designer, that your clothes are say for say curvy women, but why are you putting a size 0 in your shows and your clothing?
Because that is, the
and you're
issue,
not even making that size.
And the thing is, the issue is that it's systemic. There's so many parts to the fashion ecosystem, and a lot of the things that you see, like the things happening with Balenciaga and some of these big brands, it's systemic. Yes. It's built into the system, and nobody is checking them, going, no.
Well, I hate to say this, but you know what? It's not women causing all this ruckus.
I'm just going to give you a nod.
You know what? And with all that you're doing, Joanne, I'd be remiss not to mention this, that you are also an advocate.
I am. Always been an advocate, and so much so that, I teach at Arizona State University in the Herberger Institute of Design and the Arts in fashion.
Yes.
Because when I say representation matters, it really does, but they also have to see you in that role.
Right.
So that they know, students of color know, that they too can be designers and design in this space. And the advocacy part of it is, when I got to ASU, I said, how do we talk about diversity? How do we talk about equity in fashion if the students don't have a class around it? And I remember the head of our program saying, well, if you want to, create one. And I think it was kind of let's see what you can do. You know, I said, oh, you ain't said nothing but a word.
Right,
You
right.
ain't said nothing.
They didn't know who
but
they
a
were.
word.
They know who they're messing
Listen,
with.
came back with a full curriculum.
Okay.
You know, things that the students will learn. A whole
Right.
15-week course that I wrote from scratch called Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion in Fashion.
Love it.
And offering it now as an optional class for students to take. But my goal is to make this a required class for everybody getting a fashion degree. To see, that's how we create more advocates.
Okay.
That's how we create co-conspirators.
But you know what? Even take it back further than that. Why not have it in high school?
I know. I just really feel like we're not having these conversations early enough.
Right.
You know what I mean? And these students that are coming out of our fashion systems are the ones that can change it. So when they're at the table, they'll be the ones to say, excuse me, just a question. Where are all the women of color? Where are all the plus size men?
Right.
Where, you know, our
Right.
LGBTQT representation? Where are they?
Right.
You know, and that's what it takes.
Well,
So.
you're doing an amazing job out there.
Trying.
Any upcoming projects?
You know what? I'm working on a book.
Congratulations.
Thank you. So it's a 3-part book on fashion for the young adult population. Because when Joanna was 12 and wanted to read about a little brown girl that loved fashion and did fashion, there were no books. And here Joanna is not 12 anymore. And there's still no books. There's still no books with young BIPOC females as the lead character. They're always a sidekick. They're always in the background. And so, like with my brand, I created the book. So now we're just the first one is done, working on the second book, and hoping that a literary agent will pick it up, and then, you know,
that is
a
wonderful
publication
news.
company. Yes, thank you.
So where can our audience find you?
BlackRussianLabel.com.
Wonderful. Well, thank you for
Thank you
joining
so much
us
for
today.
having
It was
me.
such a pleasure.
Pleasure was all mine.
And thank you for joining us here today at Desertwood Days, and we'll catch you next time.
Today's episode of Desertwood Days with Kathy Blaze was sponsored by Dork Publishing. Visit them at dorkpublishing.com.